Hi, my name is Celia Guzzi. I will be discussing the I Ching. So, the I Ching, also called the Book of Changes, is the oldest of all classical divination systems, and it's one of the oldest books in the world, first made about 1000 BC. The method is rooted in an understanding of human nature, duality, black and white. Yin is the receptive, receiving side, or the shaded and black side, or seen as the feminine side, while yang is the active participant, white, or the more masculine side. Hexa in a hexagram means six, which refers to the 6 lines that form a hexagram when placed together. And these 6 lines we will talk about later, as they do represent our reading. And with this topic, I will explore how symmetry is related to balance and good fortune in general. So the method you use for the I Ching is you think of a question or something that's been on your mind recently, and then you find three coins all the same. They do recommend that you look for a coin that means something to you, and I know sometimes people have used like rocks or other markers as long as they're all the same. And so you take the 3 markers or coins and you toss them 6 times consecutively, and you record your result every time, like tails, head, head, tails, head, tails, 6 times. And after you do the 6 times, that's all the tossing you have to do. And then for the first 3 tosses, what you wrote down, tail, tail, head, or head, tail, head, or head, 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 you draw those as lines, and there's a guide that tells you whether 2 heads and a tail equals yang or yin, or whether 3 tails equals yang or yin. Because it's either a broken line, which is the yin, or it's a even solid line, which is the yang. And so that's how you find the upper trigram from the first 3 tosses you did. And then you find the lower trigram by looking at your last 3 tosses and relating them to the lines, whether it's 3 broken lines or 3 solid lines. And you look at the I Ching chart, and I'll show it to you later, and you find your lower trigram from the first column over here, and then you find your upper trigram from the top, and you draw it down and you connect the two and you find a number, which will give you your reading. So a Bernoulli process. Coin flipping in general, no matter if you're betting on something or looking for your fortune, coin flipping is a Bernoulli process, and that means that all of the trials, or the times that you actively toss, all the trials, can only have 2 outcomes, either heads or tails, and each trial is independent of every other trial, or mutually exclusive. Like the Venn diagrams we discussed earlier, each coin toss is a separate circle. So this would be like toss 1, toss 2. Okay, so with this project, I also wanted to look at probability. And the only kind of rules that they give for you, like I said before, is that you want the coins to be something that means something to you. And I think that can often result in unfair reading if you have an unfair coin where one coin side of it is heavier than the other side, or if it's distorted in some way. A truly fair coin, like the ones we pay for or pay with, requires that the probability of getting either a head or a tail is half, or 50% every time. And then if I wanted to figure out the probability of me tossing 3 heads, one after another, I do that half, that 50%. So that's the probability of either heads or tails on the first times the probability on the second toss times the probability on the third toss equals 1/8 or 12.5%. So it's a really low probability, and for some reason I got 3 heads a few different times through my trials. So the probability of me tossing the 3 heads 8 times, which is what I did, I had that 8 different times, is 0.125 times 0.125 times 0.125, and that 0.125 is the percent. And you can symbolically explain the probability of you tossing these 3 heads 8 times as the probability of A and B and C, which would be toss 1, toss 2, toss 3 equals the probability of one toss times the probability of the next times the probability of the next, which is the same thing as up there pretty much. We're just making it clear that each toss is an independent event. Okay, so when I executed this, I did 5 trials of the 6 tosses, recording it each time. I didn't notice too much like repetition or anything, but I was surprised to find that I had 3 of the 3 heads happened 8 different times out of a total of 30 tosses. So 27% of my tosses were the 3 heads. And in the I Ching, if you get 3 heads or 3 tails, this is called a changing reading, which just means it's a good moment for lots of change and powerful change. So basically a changing reading, where it's all the same heads or tails, they are more powerful and also happen to be more symmetrical. The 3 head toss shows translation symmetry, because this head just translates into the next over. And then for my reading, one of my tosses right there, then I've correlated each toss to a line. So the tailhead's tails resulted in a yang, which is a straight line, and the tail's head resulted in a yin, which is the broken line, out to the 6. So that is my hexagram. This is my reading. And if you look at this hexagram, it has perfect reflective symmetry. If I were going to draw a line down there, it would reflect perfectly. And then oftentimes with I Ching, you'll connect the lines into a shape. And here's mine. It's my hexagram of my reading. And if you were to kind of rotate it a little bit here, there would be reflection symmetry down this way. So this is the table that will give you your final reading. You find the upper trigram, the first 3 tosses here, that was fire for me, and the lower trigram, the last 3 tosses, which is lake here. You connect those and you find your number, and that's your hexagram with all 6 of them on top. Mine is number 38. And so there's 8 different possibilities for trigrams. There are upper trigrams and lower trigrams, and when you put them together, they form an octagon because there's 8 of them. So my fortune was fire over lake, or kue opposition, and it gives you kind of, when you put them all the trigrams together, here's my octagon, and then the hexagram right here. And you can see that this octagon would be symmetrical if you were to rotate some of the trigrams within, like this one right here. If you were to rotate it, it could be pretty much the same. Same here, this is just a flip of this here. So there is rotation symmetry here. Okay, and that's all I got.